Good afternoon, Bruce. My name is Michael Harrison. I'm a member of the Forts Colony Nominating Committee. First, I want to thank you for volunteering to participate in this process to become a community volunteer, which is needed to help our community thrive. Welcome to this candidate forum, where you will be offered an opportunity to share with the community your thoughts on issues that impact residents here in Forts Colony and how you might participate in working these issues as a potential member of the Forts Colony Board of Directors. We have prepared several questions today for you to respond to so that our community has an opportunity to understand your perspective on key issues and how you might approach problem solving and making decisions as a board member. Because of the wide range of topics, we ask that you limit your responses to 2 minutes per question. We will give you a 30-second reminder when you approach that 2-minute time limit. With that, are we ready to go?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Okay. A major issue from the annual survey was the concept of Forts Colony becoming more of a multi-age range community. Several voices have made comments about the lack of facilities, programming, and events for families with younger children. How do you see the board of directors acting to address this issue?
I would say the first thing is to talk to the younger members, to have a special meeting just with representatives of the younger age community to determine just what their expectations and desires are. It would be easy for somebody like me, senior citizen, to go back and say, oh yeah, here's what they want. They want this, this, and this, and we can do this, but this is too expensive. That gets you nowhere. Start with talking to the people themselves and don't prejudge what it is that you're going to hear.
Thank you very much. The next question, I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. The current board has represented that the capital contribution fee proposal is an initiative to offset unknown maintenance and unforeseen capital costs associated with the aging Forts Colony infrastructure. How would you explain this strategic financial effort to residents who are still asking questions?
The capital contribution fund is essentially a cash reserve for Forts Colony. It's more of a strategic budget, and it's not the daily operating budget. I would have to say that it's the Virginia equivalent of the rainy day fund that the government of Virginia maintains to meet unforeseen expenditures, largely in the area of storm damage in the case of Virginia, but it could be anything. The current pandemic gives you an example of an unexpected crisis that has costs associated with it that there was no way anyone could plan or budget.
That topic, the capital contribution fee, is a good segue to the next question. Board membership requires significant skill in the art of compromise to achieve collective decision-making, which means effective listening, empathy, and flexibility. Can you describe any experience of being associated with a team of strong-willed individuals and how you interface to achieve consensus to solve a common issue?
Right now in Forts Colony, an issue had come up earlier last year about the issue of the resident Canadian geese and a removal process. It caught an awful lot of us by surprise. I count myself among the animal and nature lovers, and I was shocked because I had encountered episodes like this elsewhere in Virginia. I've lived here for now 44 years, and there's always been issues of geese around the airfields and the removal techniques and that were less than fully effective. What usually involved was a matter of environmental engineering to encourage the geese not to be next to a runway, for example. A number of us got together after the board had called a divergency session to tell us what they had done with the removal process. The information at the time was less than what we could have expected or should have had. And I became part of a very active and vocal group. Several courses of action arose and it led to definite internal struggles within the group. Essentially, it was a matter of persuading cooler heads to explore the different options and then moving quietly along those paths. Confrontation, in these cases, gets you usually nowhere.
Thank you very much. Since many of the candidates that are running for these open board seats have lived in Ford's Colony for some length of time, what improvements do you believe are really needed in our community?
One of the biggest concerns I have is safety. I've lived in Virginia now a good many years, and I'm used to, in residential areas, driving at slower speeds. In fact, it was a norm in the community where I lived for almost 40 years that even in some sections, the speed limit was 15 miles an hour. It was a mixed community, waterfront community, and there were a lot of kids around. I had no problem with that. Driving through the city of Williamsburg, as I have a good many times, it's normal to encounter a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in residential areas. In Ford's Colony, I've encountered people who honk, who make a big exaggerated pass on the road to get by me when I'm going 25 miles an hour, and who have even honked at me furiously if I didn't move quickly enough at the stoplight at Williamsburg West, where the visibility is often not what it should be. I think one of the changes we need is a better education program on why our speed limits and our safety procedures are what they should be. As you noted earlier, sir, it's becoming a mixed generation community, and we have more kids around, and we also have a lot of pets. I see dogs being walked every day. Until mine died, I was walking one every day, and you're constantly looking out for traffic.
Bruce, your response to that question is a wonderful lead-in to the very next question. What was one of the key reasons you decided to run for one of these open board seats?
There were two issues that drove me, and I've talked briefly about them. One was the wildlife issue, which is larger than just the Canadian geese, and the other was the issue of safety. My perception was the board was not taking either of these issues as seriously as it could. Now, I understand that the financial issues are what they are. I'm a former president of a homeowners association elsewhere in the county, in a small waterfront community, and used to taking a leadership role. During Hurricane Frank, which is about 25 years ago, it was my turn to be the president of my homeowners association, and it seemed like every day I was walking through my neighborhood, assessing damage, checking on people, and I feel that I could be doing the same thing now.
Thank you. What three priorities would you suggest as being the most important for the board of directors to focus on for the next year?
I like the idea of continuous improvement in our infrastructure. The pipes issue has been going on for some time, but there's issues coming on beyond that. I read in one report that we've had a large number of dams and bridges in our nature area, which are beyond life expectancy, in some places close to failure or have already failed. We share a community with a very large country club, a separate organization, and sometimes it's going to be very hard to tell the difference where one problem starts and another ends. I think that's one of the main issues. Building up the capital reserve is certainly an important issue. I know the cost of replacing my culvert from my previous home, which is not the same level as a pipe, but when it has to be done, it has to be done, and you need to have the resources to do it. And lastly, this is a harder one, sense of community. We have a large number of neighborhoods. Some of them have names, some of them don't. I heard a discussion in the communications committee this morning about all the ponds that we have and the ones we share with the country club, and the possibility of naming them. I know there are borrow pits which have become ponds, but I don't see the sense of neighborhood that I had in the much smaller community where I was living for so many years. I see it emerging, I see it happening here and there, but there's not the larger sense that I would have expected.
Okay, thank you very much. Many of the Ford's Colony volunteer committees are having a genuine problem recruiting members. How would you, as a member of the board, address this problem?
You've got to do something more than putting a notice in Talk of the Colony or the weekly Talk of the Colony email, an ad on the website. There is no substitute from getting out and talking to your neighbors, to talking to other people. Most of us belong to some sort of informal group. In my case, it was a breakfast club that grew out of the Newcomers Club. And we've got many diverse issues, but we talk to each other. And it's in the process, the social process of just chatting over a breakfast or a lunch or even over just a cup of coffee, finding out what other people like to do and saying, well, have you considered volunteering for covenants, for example? If you're complaining about the rules on property maintenance, here's a chance to find out what they really are and to influence the process.
Thank you. There has been, and some would say this is past tense, but there's been a view that Ford's Colony will not replicate amenities that are available close by, such as a dog park, a gym, year-round swimming, or a special events hall that would accommodate theater, music, social gatherings where cosmetics are really important. As you know, our current amenities are somewhat limited to meeting rooms at the swim and tennis club with seasonal swimming available. What are your feelings on this subject?
I would love to see a larger facility, but I also know that these costs. And if we want to add, for example, a performance area, well, you're talking about new construction. New construction is big bucks, and it's in a time where building materials are actually in fairly short supply, and labor costs have been accelerated. So look around, and where else could you assemble? There are facilities within James City County in the county rec center, which could possibly be made available. There's an excellent library system. The one in the city of Williamsburg has got a theater in it, for example. Even Colonial Williamsburg has some capabilities. There's an old theater in oh, the name escapes me, but it's in Merchant Square, part of the Colonial Williamsburg properties, which could be also made available. It's a matter of looking around, because in this larger sense of community I was just talking about, I've encountered an awful lot of people who don't think there's anything beyond Ford's Colony. And we're in the midst of a very large and growing suburban county.
All right, Bruce, thank you for that. Final question. How would you handle an issue within the community in which there are strong divergent viewpoints on issues, let's say pickleball and tennis? How would you work through these issues as a member of the board of directors?
I don't play tennis or pickleball, and my golf game is something I wouldn't talk about. But as I understand it, in fact, I have not seen as much tension between tennis and pickleball in any other area. Obviously, the pickleball people need their own courts. The idea of sharing a facility is a workaround, and I think it's already reached its limits. So let's be honest about it. What does it cost to make a new pickleball court? One, or expand the capabilities of the current pickleball or the current tennis courts? Frankly, I don't have a clue on what the usage is on either sport, but come up with a cost. I know there's a committee studying this, and it seems like the decision was made to wait 6 months before coming up with a solution. I don't think 6 months is going to solve it, particularly if it's sitting in somebody's in basket. Get the estimates now. Bring the team leaders in and says, okay, guys, gals, here's what it's going to cost. What was your organization willing to put up? There's got to be shared expenditure, because frankly, Ford's Colony is not going to be able to afford laying out extra courts just for a particular sport.
Okay, Bruce, thank you very much for your thoughtful answers to these important questions that were submitted by your fellow residents and members of the nominating committee. I'd like to wish you, on behalf of the nominating committee and the residents of Ford's Colony, I'd like to wish you all the best as you go forth in this process. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.